The following is a 24 Hours podcast.
Monty Paulson, question 7 for our candidates.
British Columbia is now home to 2 homeless people for every person we're going to invite to compete in the 2010 games. And the number is rising. If you are mayor in 2010, there will be 10,000 visiting reporters camped out here, and they will turn to you to answer this question. Why did Vancouver spend tens of millions of dollars on parties while its own citizens were dying in the streets? What are you going to tell the world? And more importantly, in the very short 13 months you would have as mayor before the Olympics, what are you going to do?
Gregor?
Well, we're at a pivotal time for addressing homelessness. As mayor of Vancouver, I will make a clear #1 priority to end homelessness in Vancouver. That has to be the focus of the city. There's cities around the world that have made this their goal. There's cities around the world that have accomplished this goal, and cities close by in Portland, Seattle, Calgary that are well on their way in 10-year plans to end homelessness. It has to be the clear commitment of the city, and I will make that commitment as mayor. So the story that gets told in 2010 when the press come to the city, when 3 billion people are looking at Vancouver and wondering what the deal is with this city, the story can either be this tragedy that's been unfolding at our feet, or it can be a very different story about a city that pulled itself together, that came together, working together around a common mission to end homelessness. That is the story that needs to be told. We have to draw deep on the compassion in our city and on the immense resources that we have in this city and put together our own Vancouver plan to end homelessness, and then leverage in that 13 months, leverage with tough negotiation the provincial and the federal government to deliver on the resources that have been committed in the bid book, the resources that this city deserves, the resources that it will take to build permanent housing, get people off the streets. We will not hide the people during the Olympics, as the provincial and federal government seem intent to do. We will be focused on building permanent housing and telling a very different story from the path that we're on right now. We need a story about how the city came together, how the city recognized the unbelievable disgrace that we are living with, and we dealt with it. We dealt with it proactively, we built housing, we take care of all of our citizens. That's the story that the world needs to see here in Vancouver.
Okay. Raymond Louis?
The issue of homelessness, well, again, Monty and I were out on the homeless count together, and we, in fact, saw some people that worked for the city of Vancouver, living in their cars. And so it's not just on the streets, but people in their cars as well. And that can't continue. It's unconscionable that we have as many homeless people as we do. And that's why we in Vision Vancouver had worked so hard on council this term to ensure, or well, we tried, to ensure that the $20 million, at least a component of it, would be geared towards housing. And unfortunately for us and the people on the street, that was turned down by the NPA. We knew last term that this housing crisis, this devastating problem that we have in our city was coming and was in fact here and growing. But Mayor Sullivan and his Civil City plan to reduce homelessness by 50%, well, it's obviously a failure because we now know that it's gone up by 32% over these past 3 years, which is really a shame because we had the plan in Southeast Falls Creek. So specifically, what can we do? What will we say? Mostly what we can say is we're sorry that we weren't able to meet the needs because we've lost a significant opportunity. And that will be our shame because we focused on the games versus the people because it's not our city, my city, is not about the games, it's about the people. And without the people being properly housed, without them being properly supported, we end up being a much poorer society because it's the support that we provide to those that most need our help that is how we should be judged. And so, you know, other than that, it's going to be a very challenging initiative to build more housing. We have some opportunities, like I said, with Little Mountain, where we can force additional housing opportunities there, build into the current infrastructure where we can quickly say a second secondary suite, and that hopefully will provide, my estimates, about 50,000 extra suites if we move quickly and allow for that to happen. Perhaps that'll take off some of the pressure.
Thank you very much.
Well, Monty, I can tell you, I'm welcoming the people from around the world when they come here in 2010, but I'm not going to hide our homeless. I'm going to help our homeless. And I can tell you that if you go to my website, it's about, again, being creative here, because I know there's goals and there's promises. You talk to Sam Sullivan, he has 5 goals. But I can tell you, I'm about solutions. And I can tell you, when you go to my website, you will see that I'm going to take 20 of our worst buildings in the downtown east side and turn them into 20 of our best. And how that's going to be done is by, again, creative density bonusing and strategies in building. East Fraser Lands, northeast side of False Creek, Little Mountain, the post office. Folks, from those 4 sites alone, in my first term as mayor, in my first 16 months, I will be able to extrapolate $160 million that can go immediately into the downtown east side and take 20 of our worst buildings and fix them to 20 of our best. Yes, the province and the federal government have an obligation, but we cannot constantly keep waiting for them to step up to the plate. Day by day goes by that these homeless are on the street. My solution, not my promise to end homelessness or my goal, but my solution will be enacted immediately. And this can happen in the first 16 months, and that is my commitment.
Gregor Robertson would like to rebut.
Well, I think it's important that, you know, beyond Al's idea on density bonusing and fixing up SROs, we need new housing. We need thousands and thousands of new units of housing. And the only way we're going to get that is if there is a clear goal and there's investor confidence in that goal. We need a business-like approach to this. It's worked in the US. There has to be a business plan to address homelessness in this city. We have resources in this city to leverage. We have a $1.3 billion property endowment fund for a rainy day. And folks, it's pouring. This is the time when we need to leverage that asset. We need to leverage that asset and put the pressure on the province and the federal government. We have other resources around the city and a lot of people willing to invest if there is a clear goal and a commitment from the leadership in this city. So the leadership has to be provided, the political will has to come to the table and draw on all these sources, leverage and negotiate, and we will be able to build thousands and thousands of new units of housing, permanent housing with supports, to ensure that no one lives on the streets of Vancouver.
Thank you.
I'm using up my last rebut on the most important thing that I feel running for mayor. And that is, folks, is that under, I will say again in these times, under sensitive bonus density, I do not think it's healthy to put all our homeless into non-market housing in one neighborhood. We need to have people throughout the city feeling good. So all the major developments that take place, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's very important to integrate non-market with affordable housing and market. And I have to say that when we look at Little Mountain, East Fraser Lands, and the post office and northeast side of False Creek alone, we could probably have at least 800 to 1,200 extra units alone that could happen and materialize over the next 3 years. If we get on with the job, I'm that kind of guy.
Yep.
That was my rebuts.
All right.
Vancouver.24hours.ca